American military history lost deep in the South Pacific. Yesterday, we showed you how the team went looking for the wreck of the USS Hornet. The Japanese sank the aircraft carrier in October of 1942.
They called her the Fighting Lady. A legend that vanished in a storm of fire and steel. For decades, the USS Hornet was a story told in history books, her final resting place a mystery. But like all great legends, her story wasn't over. A state-of-the-art deep-sea drone went hunting for her ghost and found it, 17,000 feet down. What the drone's cameras witnessed inside the carrier's broken hull, however, wasn't just a wreck. It was a time capsule so perfect it defies all reason, leaving the world to wonder what else is waiting in the deep. A ghost ship's origin story. The story of the USS Hornet CV-8 is one of America's most incredible naval legends. Launched in the tense months before the nation plunged into World War II, she was a Yorktown-class aircraft carrier, a masterpiece of engineering weighing over 25,000 tons and stretching more than 800 feet long. The thing nobody tells you is that this ship wasn't just steel and rivets. She was destined to become a symbol of defiance. Her career was short, lasting just a year and 7 days, but in that brief time she carved her name into history. What many overlooked at the time was just how much this single vessel would change the course of the war in the Pacific. Her first taste of legendary status came in April 1942, just months after the devastating attack on Pearl Harbor. America needed a victory, a sign of hope. The plan was audacious, to put it mildly. It involved launching 16 Army B-25 Mitchell bombers, long-range aircraft that had never taken off from a carrier before, from the Hornet's deck to strike Tokyo. The mission, led by the famous Lieutenant Colonel Jimmy Doolittle, was incredibly risky. The bombers were stripped of everything non-essential to pack in more fuel, and the crews knew their chances of returning were slim. On April 18th, 800 miles from Japan, the Hornet turned into the wind, and one by one, the bombers roared into the sky. The Doolittle raid inflicted minimal physical damage, but its psychological impact was immense. It proved that the heart of Japan was not untouchable. The Hornet had delivered the first blow back. Just 2 months later, she sailed into the pages of history again at the Battle of Midway. Alongside her sister ships, the Enterprise and the Yorktown, the Hornet faced the might of the Japanese fleet. Her pilots flew into a storm of anti-aircraft fire, helping to locate and attack the enemy carriers. The battle was a turning point. 4 of Japan's most powerful carriers were sent to the bottom of the ocean, a blow from which their navy would never fully recover. The Hornet's dive bombers and torpedo planes were instrumental in this victory. She had become a seasoned veteran in a matter of months, earning a reputation as a lucky and formidable ship. Many people were crazy about the Hornet, seeing her as a symbol of America's fighting spirit. But in the brutal theater of the Pacific War, luck is a currency that runs out fast. Not all things are what they seem, and the Hornet's final chapter was rapidly approaching. Her destiny was tied to the desperate, grinding battle for Guadalcanal and the Solomon Islands. By the fall of 1942, the fighting there was relentless. The Hornet was one of the few operational American carriers left in the South Pacific, a prime target for the Japanese fleet. Her pilots flew constant missions, defending the Marines on the island and attacking enemy warships. Life aboard was a tense cycle of flight operations, air raid alerts, and exhaustion. The crew knew they were the front line, the shield protecting a fragile foothold in a long and punishing war. The end came on October 26, 1942, during the Battle of the Santa Cruz Islands. The Hornet found herself under a coordinated and ferocious aerial assault. Japanese dive bombers and torpedo planes swarmed her from all directions. The ship's gunners threw up a wall of steel, but the attackers were relentless. She took hit after hit. Bombs tore through her flight deck, igniting fires in stored aircraft. Torpedoes ripped into her hull, causing massive flooding and knocking out her engines. The great ship went dead in the water, listing heavily. The crew fought with incredible courage to save her, but the damage was too severe. The order was given to abandon ship. Even then, the Hornet refused to give up. American destroyers tried to scuttle her with torpedoes and hundreds of shells, but she defiantly stayed afloat. Eventually, advancing Japanese ships delivered the final blows, sending the legendary carrier on her final journey to the ocean floor. Over 140 of her crew were lost. For 77 years, her exact location remained a mystery, a ghost lost to the crushing blackness of the deep. But the ocean could not keep her secret forever. Technology versus the deep. For nearly 8 decades, the USS Hornet existed only in memories and grainy photographs. Her final resting place was a cold case, a mystery filed away in the vast, unforgiving expanse of the Pacific Ocean. Many believed she was lost forever, swallowed by depths so profound that no human technology could ever hope to reach her. You see, the search area was enormous, and the historical records of her sinking were chaotic, compiled in the heat of battle. Finding a single ship in over 3 miles of water was a task so daunting it bordered on impossible. But some mysteries are too compelling to be left alone. The mission to find the Hornet was taken up by the crew of the research vessel Petrel, a state-of-the-art exploration ship funded by the late philanthropist Paul Allen. This wasn't a team of treasure hunters. They were maritime historians and deep ocean technicians driven by a passion for uncovering lost chapters of history. Their first step wasn't at sea, but in the archives. They spent months poring over declassified naval records, ship logs, and after-action reports from both American and Japanese forces. They pieced together 9 different eyewitness accounts from warships that saw the Hornet in her final hours. Each account had slightly different coordinates, a result of the chaos of battle and the limitations of 1940s navigation. By cross-referencing these data points and using advanced modeling to account for ocean currents and drift, they narrowed the search area down to a still massive grid on the ocean floor. It was a real long shot, but it was a start. With a target zone established, the Petrel's high-tech arsenal was deployed. The workhorse of the operation was an autonomous underwater vehicle, or AUV. This sophisticated torpedo-shaped drone was designed to operate independently in the crushing pressures of the deep. It methodically scanned the seabed, using advanced side-scan sonar to paint a picture of the terrain below. For weeks, the AUV swam back and forth in a precise pattern, covering hundreds of square miles of empty, featureless ocean floor. The crew aboard the Petrel worked in shifts around the clock, analyzing the sonar data for any anomaly, any shape that didn't belong. It was painstaking work, staring at screens showing nothing but mud and rock for hours on end. The thing nobody tells you about deep-sea exploration is the sheer amount of patience required. One wrong calculation could send the entire mission back to square one. Finally, on its very first dive mission within the primary search grid, the AUV sent back a hit. It was a faint, indistinct shape, but it was large and man-made. The excitement on the bridge was electric, but it was tempered with caution. They had found something, but was it the Hornet, or was it another forgotten wreck? To find out, they needed to get a closer look. This was a job for the Remotely Operated Vehicle, or ROV. Unlike the autonomous AUV, the ROV is tethered to the ship and controlled in real time by a pilot. Equipped with powerful lights and high-definition cameras, it was their eyes in the abyss. The team carefully lowered the ROV over 3 miles down, a journey that took hours. The pressure at that depth is over 8,000 pounds per square inch, enough to instantly crush a submarine. The ROV was built to withstand it, but the risk was ever present. As the ROV approached the target, the first images began to flicker onto the monitors in the control room. Through the swirling silt and inky blackness, a massive dark shape began to resolve. It was undeniably a shipwreck, and a huge one at that. The ROV pilot expertly maneuvered the vehicle along the length of the wreck, the powerful lights cutting through the darkness. The crew watched in silence, their eyes glued to the screen, searching for a definitive sign. They saw the unmistakable outline of an aircraft carrier's flight deck, the mangled steel of the island superstructure, and the gaping holes from torpedo impacts. Piece by piece, the evidence mounted. Then the camera focused on the hull, and a faint but clear number emerged from the marine growth, N8. There was no doubt. After 77 years of silence, they had found the USS Hornet CV-8. The search was over, but the real discovery was just beginning. Relics against all odds. Finding the Hornet was a monumental achievement, But what the ROV's cameras revealed next transformed the discovery from a historical success into a mind-bending mystery. As the drone glided over the silent wreck, it captured images that, to put it mildly, should not have been possible. The deep ocean is a destructive force. The descent alone is violent enough to tear a ship apart, and the immense pressure at 17,000 feet is expected to crush and flatten everything. But the Hornet's grave was different. It was a scene of both destruction and impossible preservation, a place where the laws of nature seemed to have been selectively suspended. The first jaw-dropping sight was a 5-inch anti-aircraft gun mount. It was sitting upright, its twin barrels still aimed toward a sky they would never see again, as if awaiting the order to fire. It hadn't collapsed or been torn from its foundation. It was perfectly intact. But what truly stunned the crew was what they found on the hangar deck. There, sitting upright as if waiting for its next assignment, was an International Harvester aircraft tug, a small tractor used to move planes. Its wheels were firmly on the deck, its frame was whole, and its shape was perfectly recognizable. At a depth that can turn steel into scrap, this simple piece of machinery had survived the violent sinking and decades of crushing pressure completely unscathed. It was a moment that defied logic. The surreal discoveries kept coming. Not far from the tractor, the ROV's lights fell upon a Grumman F-4F Wildcat fighter plane. This aircraft should have been a twisted wreck, shattered by the sinking. Instead, it was found with its wings neatly folded back, just as they would have been for storage. What many overlooked is that for an airplane to remain in this condition after such a catastrophic event is almost unheard of. It was as if a phantom crew had carefully tucked it away moments before the ship went down. The ROV moved closer, revealing another Wildcat, this one lying upside down but still largely intact. Many people are crazy about finding wrecks, but no one had ever seen anything like this. These were not just pieces of a shipwreck, they were artifacts perfectly frozen in time. As the cameras explored deeper, they uncovered even more personal and haunting relics. In one section of the officer's country, a metal locker had fallen open, revealing a uniform jacket still hanging inside. In another area, a small wash kit lay on the floor, its contents, including a toothbrush, still visible. These simple, everyday items brought the human story of the Hornet into sharp focus. They were the last possessions of men who had lived, worked, and fought on this very vessel. The sterile, high-tech control room of the Petrel fell silent as the crew realized they were looking into a sacred place, a tomb where the final moments of daily life had been eerily preserved against all odds. On the hull itself, the ship's number, 8, was still faintly visible, a final confirmation of her identity. This wasn't just a wreck, it was a time capsule that offered a direct, unfiltered glimpse back to October of 1942. The level of preservation was so extraordinary that it left seasoned explorers and naval historians speechless. How could this be? How could delicate objects survive when the mighty steel hull around them was torn and broken? The Hornet had been found, but she had returned with more questions than answers. The discovery of the USS Hornet is more than just a technical marvel, it's a deeply human story. The wreck is a silent witness to the final, desperate moments of more than 140 American sailors. For this reason, the site is considered a war grave, a hallowed ground that must be treated with the utmost respect. The mission was never about salvage or recovery. It was about documentation, remembrance, and finally giving this legendary ship a known resting place. What the camera saw helps historians and naval engineers understand exactly what happened in her final battle. The blast marks, the torpedo holes, and the buckled steel plates tell the story of the ferocious attack she endured. They can now trace the path of the bombs and torpedoes, confirming historical accounts and filling in gaps in the record. The thing nobody tells you is that a shipwreck like this is a forensic goldmine, allowing experts to study battle damage in a way that blueprints and reports never could. The ocean has given back one of its greatest secrets, but so many more remain hidden. Should we continue to pursue these deep-sea ghosts, or should some mysteries be left undisturbed? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more incredible stories from the deep.